Hello, everybody. Um, I am a few minutes late. I had some technical difficulties, as usual. Um, but I'm here now, and I am so glad that I got to. I'm so glad I made a decision to start doing this. Let me make sure I have all my screens up that I need, and that way we're. So today I decided I wanted to get on Fridays and do a live show and talk about things that have either been on my mind for that week or talk about um, what is like, things that are happening in the news or just offering some encouragement to my people that like to listen to me. So, um, that's what I'm going to be doing on Fridays from now on. And if you are listening, you are welcome to post comments. And if you click on the live stream um, link, it's for StreamYard. It'll take you to a little stream and it just gives them permission for you to show your name. So otherwise, if you comment, I'm not going to know who you are. It's just going to say like Facebook viewer. And so anyway, so so just a little bit currently what I have going on is have been doing like one episode on my podcast, Motherhood Unfiltered is going to be okay, like once a week. And I felt like I didn't have enough opportunity to um, say what's on my mind. And a lot of times I like to talk it out. And I mean, I do my blog and I do a newsletter, but that's just, it's not an everyday thing. So, so anyway, let me make sure I'm not sliding out of my chair here. So this week, I wanted to talk about, are you worth it? So it seems like it's come up in some conversations that growing up, we never talked about um, things that had happened to us or that had been bothering us. We just kind of soldiered on, right? And dealt with it privately. And it seems like in our today's culture, it's a little more forgiving to talk about those things. Doesn't mean that, we're going to sit here and feel sorry for ourselves. Hopefully, you can see my little sign here. But, feel sorry for ourselves. But it's just to acknowledge it and move on and then make the best um, with what we have. So, in conversations, it's come up, where we never talked about things that happened to us. And I'm finding out that um, a lot of people, like myself, have had some childhood trauma. And so, and that has driven, things that happened to me when I was young, has driven almost every conversation, every decision that I've had, growing up as a teenager and then as an adult. And I feel like it's important that we recognize those things that have happened to us and make the best of it. So, my topic for tonight is, are you worth it? So, it took me a long time to realize that, yes, I am worth it. And I had to actually, um, I felt like if I wasn't giving 100%, or I felt like I wasn't being perfect, a perfect person, which I mean, we all know that's like impossibility, then um, I wasn't good enough, So it's just um, let me make this bigger so I can see. I guess I can't. So anyway, it's just something that it took me a long time to overcome. And I'm not saying that I think that I'm all that, right? But there are some things that I had to forgive myself for. And there are some things that I still need to work on. I realize that. But in learning those things, I am now better able to help other people who have been in the same position that I have been in. And so one of the things that I really noticed growing up was I really noticed it with my mom. And I hope she doesn't mind me talking about her, but she, um, she always, she was single most of our time growing up. And she was, um, so anytime she did anything nice for herself, she felt like so guilty about it. If she bought herself a new outfit or if she got to go out with her friends, she felt guilty about it because obviously being a single mom and having 5 kids, there were things that, you know, either we needed or, something with the house or whatever. She felt like that was more important. But in hindsight, she really needed to take care of herself. And that includes making sure you're clothed, making sure you're healthy, all of those things. And you shouldn't feel guilty about that. You should give yourself some grace because if you can't take care of yourself, you can't take care of anybody else. And the people that you love are going to they're not going to get they're not going to get what they need from you. And so I just wish she had known that when we were growing up, and had a little bit more love and compassion for herself. And because that is something that I've had to learn to do. And I feel like I've learned it way later than I should have because now my boys are all, they're all adults and grown up. And so that is just something, I that's been on my mind this week. And the analogy I was had a meet and greet with somebody, and I used the analogy, when you're on an airplane flight and they tell you if the oxygen masks come down, you need to take care of yourself first and then help the person next to you that needs help, that needs their help with their mask on. And so that's how I've, been looking at whenever I talk to people is you take care of yourself first. When you take care of yourself first, you are giving yourself the tools and the resources to help others that you are responsible for. Your kids, your husband, um, your job, your elderly, relatives that, you may be in charge of. So I feel like a lot of us don't recognize that. And maybe the younger generation recognizes that and have a handle on it. Well, I'm older. So, and that was just something we didn't do. You just, you dried up the tears and you just went on and you didn't worry about it or you didn't talk about it. So, so like I said, it's just one of those things where, it made me reflect on growing up, on things that had happened to me and how I never ever talked to anybody about those things until maybe a year or so ago. Um, well, I take that back. I've talked to my husband about it, but I mean someone other than my husband. And it's just something that's, it's embarrassing, it's hurtful, and it's awful memories that I don't like to think about. And unknowingly, um, I did not, because I did not pay attention to that or address that, I was not prepared to take care of things that had happened in my own household when my kids were growing up. So I really feel like it's important to talk about those things. So that was the first thing that I wanted to talk about. So, so the other thing is, are you worth it? So how do you go about um, when you feel like you haven't been worth it at all? You feel like you're just a piece of pile of dew laying on the floor. And how do you change that mindset? I mean, I didn't think I was ever going to be able to change that mindset. I thought I was just going to think about myself in that manner for the rest of my life. And I it took a long time, but I decided that I was tired of feeling so down on myself. I was tired of feeling mediocre and I had to quit worrying about what other people were thinking about me as an individual. I would think that if so and so didn't think I was good enough, then who am I to think I deserve to better myself? And so that was just a mindset that I had to really struggle with for a long time. And a few years ago, I went through a really bad period in my life, and there were some things that had happened. And if you listen to my podcast, I've talked about those things. I don't want to get into them here, but I I got to the point where I wasn't even living as a person. I was just I was just there. I would just sit on my couch and watch TV or play my phone game and just try to numb myself out and not think about this bad and horrible thing that I was going through. And I didn't want to be in that position. I mean, I didn't want to be in that person. And my husband's he's like, listen, you've got to do something. You cannot continue to live like this. This is not good for you. And it's not good for us as a family. And I realized, what he was saying was actually true. But I didn't know at that point, I was just feeling so helpless. I didn't even know what to do. I didn't even know the first thing about it, um, how to get out of that slump. I didn't know how to do that. I think it's probably been about the worst feeling I had been in since I had went through my divorce from my first husband. And but that was so long ago, and that was an awful time for me too. But my I like I said, I didn't know what to do. I knew I needed to do something, and I didn't know how to get out of the slump. And I, at that point, was just feeling so tired from all of it, and I was just so sad. But I was, on Facebook, and, one of my, because if some of you know me, know that I used to sell 31, which, I mean, it must be in my DNA because my mom loves bags and I love bags. So, but anyway, so, a lady that used to be in my upline, um, was giving a coaching call. And, she's like, was just talking about, taking control of your life and, taking baby steps. And if you're in some kind of a slump, reach out to her. She was offering a 15-minute free call. And now she's, was promoting her business for a business coach. Well, I didn't need a business coach, but and she offered a free boot camp, and it was she had two of them that I went to. One was boot boss girl boot camp, I think it was, and the other one was something unstoppable. So I ended up, because she was offering them free, and I ended up signing up for both of them. And of course, again, she offered this 15-minute free call. And when I was get on and listen to her little lessons that she was giving, they were each were like 4-day classes, and she would give out homework. I would just sit there, like on day 2 and day 3, would just cry because, she was speaking to me in my heart that there was things in my life that was preventing me from being successful. And even though I wasn't on there listening because I wanted to do better in my business, I was just, working my regular job, but I just felt like I really needed to reach out and do something, and I thought, if I can't do this on my own, maybe she can help me. I don't know. And so I ended up, she had a link for a 15-minute, free consultation call. And so I signed up for it. And she, so when we had our meetings, she's like, well, how can I help you? And I'm like, I don't know. I don't know how you can help me because I just, um, I've been going through some stuff, and I just knew I needed something. And when you offered this call, I just thought, I've got to do something because I can't keep living in this manner. So, and so that was a thing that changed my life. I mean, it really changed my life. Um and she didn't know that I feel like God put her in my pathway um to help me uh exercise those tools that I know I had to start helping myself. I mean, I don't want somebody to do something for me. I tease my oldest all the time. I tease him and say, well, I only had you so you could be my slave, right? And he gets so aggravated when I say that. But I, I've always been someone that I had to do it myself. I'm a very visual audio type person. And there's a lot of things that I've learned how to do without proper instruction. And so I knew I could do this. I just didn't know how. I didn't know if I even had the strength, to be able to do this. And I just, you know, taking that step or to do that call, because at first I was like, okay, what is this 15-minute call going to do? Right. And, I always thought of, since Melissa, well, I didn't mean to say her name, but anyway, she don't mind. But since she was in my upline, um, when I was selling 31, I just thought of her like, ooh, she's up there and she's just a super seller. But she's just a regular person like the rest of us. And some of the things that I had never told anybody, she talks about all the time. She talks about dealing with taking care of kids and being an introvert and being ADD and and those are things I have had dealt with. And she also has hearing problems like I had hearing problems, but I never talked about those things because I was embarrassed about them. And now that I talk about them, it just seems so silly to me. So, so anyway, it was a long road to hoe. I'm just going to tell you that now, because I decided that, you know what, maybe I am worth it. Maybe I'll give Melissa a try. And it wasn't, anything. I mean, I think she's spectacular and I think she's crazier than Cooter Brown, but I love her to death. And she just was able to give me that perspective to take that next step. And then when there was times when I felt myself drawing back, she would pull me out. And it was because of things that she had to do for herself, and she was able to help me with those because she recognized that. And so I really, Jesus, now my mouse is fallen. But anyway, I enjoyed working with her a lot. I still work with her. And so in the coaching, it wasn't like a business thing. It did turn out because I wanted to talk to other people who have went through exceptional circumstances, because at the time there was nothing I could do to reconcile what had happened in my life. So while I was waiting for that reconciliation, I decided there was things I could work on for myself, which is what we should be doing anyway. And I um I thought one way to do that was to talk to people who have been through problems and um you know I mean, if you've listened to my podcast, you'll know who I've talked to. People who have lost babies, or people who have had their baby in a NICU, or, um, or just, like my mom. She was the first in her family to get a degree, and she was, the age I am now. And so her generation, they never did extended education. They never did anything like that. And so, we were really proud of her for doing that. And I just lost my train of thought. So, so anyway, so the things that Melissa helped me with were things I wanted to, health wise, get my health on track, make sure that I was taking my medication. Um, The other thing was, drinking more water. We all need to do that. And some of the other things we worked on was things that were bothering me in my house. So it wasn't just about business, right? But there were other things that we worked on that when I was ready to do something like a side hustle or for my regular job, I was prepared. I didn't shy away from it. And when I got my new position, which I wasn't going to apply for any other positions in my company because I had been there for over 19 years and I had applied to a lot of different things and I never got them. And I was just given up. And well, this my job I have now, that opportunity arose and I applied for it and she helped me prep for that. She helped me prep for the interviews. And so it was all those things like that. So she was just, an overall rounded person that was in my corner, that cheered me on when I needed it, and that, gave me that extra boost. And sometimes it's like, there was times she'd be like, "What the heck are you doing? Doesn't that doesn't make any sense." You know, so um so in saying all of that, and because I had worked on those things and worked on problems that I've been having, I slowly have given myself grace and time. And actually, I like myself as a person. Um, and I'm not a perfect person. I make a lot of mistakes all the time. You can ask anybody who knows me, but I realized that, oh, that was stupid, Nikki. Maybe you shouldn't have done that. And forgive myself for those things. Um, and I feel like that's given me more confidence and, my self esteem has come up and I'm able to help other people. So, I've done my podcast for, it's going to be almost, let's see, 2 years in May. So I'm really excited about that. And I have gotten to talk to so many nice people, and they are on maybe not the same path that I am, but they are working it and they are wanting to improve themselves and help other people. And I feel like that's what we need in our society today, with the COVID that's happened and with the culture wars that have been going on and with the inflation in this crazy political time that we've been in. And I just feel like that if you are someone who's been out there struggling like I was struggling, um, you are worth it. I mean, you are more than worth it. You are worth the time. You are worth the money. And it has to start with you. So, um, so I am offering, a free consultation call, and I'll have my link in the show notes. But if you know someone who is struggling and or if it's yourself and you're like me and you're like, what can this person do? You know, I urge you to reach out. I definitely urge you to reach out because, I mean, what is a 15-minute call? You know, and I didn't think it would be anything. I didn't think it would lead anywhere. That's how much doubt I had, in myself. And, but it actually did. And I just have reaped so many benefits from having, you know, um, my a coach, life coach, or whatever you want to call it. And, um, and I have always been someone who loves to help other people. Um, One of my big dreams when I was a kid, I wanted to be a teacher so bad. I wanted to be in a classroom and have the different walls decorated with certain subjects, and and one of my most favorite teachers was Barbara Stiglman, and I just loved her to death. And one of the most favorite things that I remember that we did in her class was we learned about Indiana history, and we learned about the Indians and that were in Indiana. And so we all um, had made our little drums. We made them out of old coffee cans, but we made these drums. And then after the five, because it was a 5 week course. So at the end of the 5 week, um, we had a powwow, and that's what Indians do when they have a gathering. It's called a powwow. And so we had made, she had found some old recipes that Native Americans had made. And we had like a little cookies and food and stuff like that. And it just made it so much special. It's some more special learning about, Indiana culture and the people that were there before, it we had was settled by white people. But things like that. That was just something that I always wanted to do was be a teacher. And so, but I just never went to school to do that. And the job that I had before this one, I went into training. So that was just another form of teaching that I did. I've trained a lot of people and, critiqued our training material when we went because it was in an in classroom format. And now that we're all work from home, we had to adjust it so it was virtual. So I was able to do that for, my company I work for. And now I have a different job, and I'm the student now. I've been learning. So I that was something, I hadn't been in training for, 19 years. And so this past year I've been the student. And so, however, but with me doing my podcast, I have felt the desire to start coaching or training again. And so that's what I am going to be doing um, this year. So I'm going to be doing my Friday lives. I call them flying solo. I always try to put like an 80s twist on them, but that's just because that's my favorite era. And so I will be doing those on Fridays. I have 2, um, free I don't wanna call them classes, but, um, they'll be virtual courses, and one is an emotional detox, and then the other one is, um, this podcaster I listen to. She has a Clever Girl Finance, and she talks about managing your money and she talks to a lot of different people on her podcast, and I just love her. She has free materials to use, so I plan on doing those 2 sometime this year. And then of course my own course that I've created, um, how to get out of the funk, because that was what I was in. I was in some deep, nasty, dark, stanky funk. And and then I have my second course that I'm finishing up, which is, well, it's all done. I just need to make it pretty. Um, it's called Staying Out of the Funk, so it's just continuing on because, I mean, you just don't get out of the funk and then never go back because life is always happening. Life always happens. There's always stuff going on. And sometimes you find yourself back in that place and you're like, "How did I even get back here again?" So those are things that I am working on, doing this year. I hope you're excited. I'm excited. And but like I said, if you are someone who's been struggling and just don't know what to do, then and just so you know, a coach doesn't take the place of your doctor, doesn't take the place of your husband, doesn't take the place of your counselor. It's just something, a different entity that you can turn to that's an objective person to help you try to organize, the mess that's going on in your head and in your heart. So, so anyway, I would love for you to reach out. And if you have any questions, you can find me on social media. You can go to my website. It's www.nikkiasherbowling.com. There's no hyphen in there. It when I tried to add a hyphen, it didn't like it, so I just took it out. But um, and then you can chat me on Instagram or on Facebook. So those are the two main social medias that I use. I do post to other social medias. So if you do message me there, I may not see it right away, but I do try to check them regularly. So, and then of course I have my Monday podcast, and then another thing I'm doing, which is I'm kind of excited about because I didn't realize I had this much con- uh, content. So on Thursdays, I'm doing um, hostess host choice replays. So I'm taking my episodes from 2021 and replaying them on Thursdays. So if you listen to my stuff, I really appreciate it. And if you're someone that might like the podcast or the website, I know some people don't like to listen to podcasts, but you can go to the website, and a lot of the episodes are in a blog. And so you can just, read it instead. And, or if you're a visual person, you can go to YouTube and watch the episode there. So thank you very much, and I will talk to you again soon. Bye.